This video is going to focus in on item fit, specifically Winsteps Table 10. So again, Winsteps has lots of different, and Rosh has lots of different ways to think about fit, global fit, person fit. We're focused on item fit, and again, category fits. This is what Table 10 looks like, and there's a lot of information that we're going to grab from here. This video is going to specifically focus in on the purple, so the fit statistics, and these two columns. The point measure correlation is something that we saw when we did item analysis in SPSS, and this is how is this item correlated to the whole. The model standard error, you're going to be reporting this alongside your measure, which is our logit positions. We're going to come back to those when we talk about the ruler and the item person table, the right maps. Also, we get some reliability information that we've never seen before. This is actually separation of items and reliability of items. There's another one that has person reliability, which is all explained right there. So again, we need some cutoff values, and then we're going to break them. So generally, with the standardized fit, the ZSTDs, we want between plus and minus 2, which makes sense, or we can get more specific with exactly 95% confident and go between 1.96. And which one do we look at? Both of them. Usually they're not too drastically different, but if you see outfits and infits that are pretty different from each other, that is showing you that that item is being influenced by outliers. We can look at mean squares as well, and this gets even more confusing because there are recommendations by test type, whether it's a high stakes multiple choice, a rating scale, which tends to be more what we use. You know, there's also cutoffs by sample size, because remember, this is a chi-square statistic. And usually most of what we deal with is 200 to 400 people. Or we can just be the most liberal and go between 0.5 and 1.5 to be productive of measurement. That usually is my default, to just go with Lineker's recommendation there. If an item is muted, so the mean squares are less than 1, it's still really useful. It's usually because the item is only answered by people at the high end of the trait, meaning they have the most ability and they're the only ones answering that, so it's just muted. That one I'm cool with. If an item is extremely muted or otherwise redundant, especially if they are side by side on our ruler, then it's probably less useful. It can appear to decrease the overall variance, and so you'd hope for an increase in person separation. So if you have mean squares that are less than 1, as long as they're, but not less than 0.5, it's still useful. If we get really low, it gets less useful unless you have an increased person separation. On the other hand, if it's over 1, and slightly noisy, it's still really useful. If it's over 1 and over 1.5, then it gets extremely noisy. We've even seen these at like 7 or 8. That's really, really noisy. It's hard to use. It's basically useless. This could be that everyone's guessing. It could be that the item is confusing. It could be negotiation in an item if it's double-barreled. It could be a misleading item, or it could be just an opinion and not necessarily measuring the construct very well. So we want to get rid of these because they can lower person separation and reliability. There's a couple of different ways to remove an item. You can quite literally create a new syntax file without it, or you can insert IDELQ equals Y into the current syntax file. Usually under the codes line is a good place for it. And so if we think about this, I delete question yes. That's what we're looking at. And if you do that, it's going to prompt you. So it's the extra specifications, which we've seen before. We usually hit enter and it just starts. It's now going to prompt you and say, do you want to delete items? You type no here, not N-O, just an N. And then hit enter. And then it will say, do you want to type in items for deletion? You're going to say yes here if you want to. If you don't want to, type N. And again, not Y-E-S, just Y. And then you get to actually put in the items that you want to remove. You can use a comma or just a space between these. And again, make sure that you're using the entry number from table 10, not what you think the variable is called. It's the entry number. And then it's going to prompt you again and say, do you want to keep doing this? And you say N, hit enter, and it will run. So you can practice with the syntax that I gave you and remove items 9 and 10 if you want to try the comparison between those. Otherwise, I want you to open up the syntax, check out table 10, do some interpretation, and see what you find.